you. That almost makes up for being short. Almost.
Almost.
Happy Thursday, everyone. So last night in New York, the New York Democratic mayoral debate, ex-Governor Andrew Cuomo said he's going to take every homeless person off the subway and get them the help they need. And he claims he's going to start with his brother Chris. Former Biden press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre announced that she's writing a tell-all book about the Biden administration. In response, people are saying, thanks, but I just wanted a Big Mac. And when Joe Biden was asked if he's going to read the book, he replied, over my soon-to-be dead body. Meanwhile, Biden released a written statement disputing Trump's claims that he was in control of the auto pen system. Here's his written statement. During a town hall in Vermont last week, Democrat Congresswoman Becca Balint says if we deport illegals, America won't have anyone around to wipe our asses. Damn, that's 30 jobs right there, said one man. Yeah, I don't want to be part of that ICE raid. According to a new poll from Real Clear Politics, President Trump has a higher approval rate than Obama did at this time. Yeah. However, Obama's got a slight lead in his home country of Kenya. Texas Democrat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett said President Trump likes to dog whistle. No wonder she perks up around him. She also said Republicans walk up to her all the time and tell her how much they like her, which is true until they realize she's not Ben Carson.
Really?
And finally, more bad news for ratings-challenged CNN. The network has crashed to only 374,000 viewers. That number is so small, even Bonnie Blue won't bang it. That's a great joke.
Cold-blooded.
Don't Google her. All right, so Karine Jean-Pierre wrote a book, and her fans are already sharpening their crayons. And it's just what we need, a tell-all from the woman who spent 2 years telling everyone that Joe just had a cold and not rigor mortis. If the title hadn't already been taken, it should be called Art of the Steal. KJP also says she's leaving the Democratic Party. I say God bless her. Not many people have the patience to wait in a line that long. In her book, she says the White House was broken. This after 2 years along a president who wasn't housebroken. But she only realized this after she stopped getting paid to defend it. But like Jake Tapper's book, it's a new genre of Biden tell-alls that should be subtitled, I had no idea because I'm severely retarded. So now she realizes she was carrying water for a man whose brain was as wet as his pants. Remember, this is the same broad who stared America in the face and said this.
Comments were made in that report about that, obviously about his memory that we don't believe lives in reality. 80's the new 40, didn't you hear? He is as sharp as ever. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith.
And it's not true, right? The president wasn't wandering.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not.
He's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with him.
Yeah, you couldn't keep up with Joe. Sorry, Joe couldn't keep up with FDR in the 100-yard dash. And I'm talking right now.
Damn.
But she expected us to believe she couldn't keep up with the guy who had to have an electric fence put up around the White House so he wouldn't in the neighbor's yard. So was Karine too dumb to notice Biden was a mess, or was she just dishonest? Pick your poison, moron or mercenary. Now there's a great name for her book. I'm going with mercenary, Because this whole book tour didn't spring from a burst of guilt. According to Politico, she was copying her publicist on emails while still press secretary. So she was planning this from the podium. She's like a pilot who puts on his parachute and oxygen mask while your plane's leaving the airport. So this wasn't a crisis of faith, it was a business plan. She didn't leave the Democrat Party. She managed her exit like Pelosi dumping stocks before she signs the corporate tax hike. She was even pining for a spot on The View, which is like angling for the best seat in a garbage truck. But she didn't get the gig, probably because she refused their lunch bucket of thawed mackerel. That's what you feed the talent at SeaWorld. And now even the most reliable lefties are roasting her, but it serves him right. After all, she was their pick, a historic first. Black, lesbian, and board certified by visiting angels. But you know it's bad when DC operatives call it a grift. Hell, that's like Taylor Swift calling you a 6. But they say that she was ineffectual, unprepared, needed to be coddled, and couldn't manage a team. What's that sound like? DEI. What happens when you hire someone based on identity and not merit? She says we need to stop thinking in boxes, but as a black, lesbian, French, Haitian female, she checks more boxes than a gynecologist.
On the order form.
On the order form.
Oh, my God.
All those applications you gotta fill out.
That's the thing. Or
What, do you think I meant vaginas?
Ew.
Disgusting people. But now everyone says she's incompetent and lazy. You know, after they called me racist for saying that. That's not why I'm racist.
Nope.
But really, they're just jealous. These colleagues also played along with the hoax, saying that Joe was doing 75 one-arm push-ups while finishing the New York Times crossword puzzle all before breakfast. They're just pissed she beat them to the publisher's office and to the bank. I expect to see more of these books because of the lifeboats these rats will use to try and escape the shipwreck of the past 4 years. So KJP is now an independent because apparently pretending to be apolitical sells better than admitting your last job was gaslighting America. That's how bad the stink is when one of its worst offenders is fleeing this rancid armpit called the Democrat Party. So should we buy her book? Well, only if your family and friends have a sense of humor. It'll make a great gag gift. You know, like fake dog or rubber vomit. Only the stench here, it's real. Let's welcome tonight's guest! Terrorists prefer waterboarding to his stories. Former CIA operative and host of the President's Daily Brief podcast, Mike Baker. She's only here tonight because her spin class was canceled. The Federalist correspondent, Brianna Lyman. She went from the Goo Goo Dolls to avoiding Brit Hume's calls. Host of the Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. And he likes to whisper sweet nothings into his fans' hearing aids. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion, Tyrus. So, Mr. Baker, it's now okay. It's totally okay to say that she's dumb and incompetent. But if you had said it, which I know you have,
I have.
Oh, you would have been the white devil.
Yeah, I've said it repeatedly.
Yes, you have.
And I really am the white devil. Look, I'm glad that you cleared up that whole box cho-cha issue.
Thank you.
There were a lot of viewers that were confused over that.
Yeah, stick to the topic.
Yeah. Look, you asked, is she dishonest? Or is she stupid? You can be stupid and dishonest, right?
Yeah.
So I think she's covered both of those boxes, right?
Yeah. She's a lying dumbass.
See what I did there? See what I brought in another box joke.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah.
Because she's a lesbian.
Okay.
So, see, I tied it all together here.
Yes,
in one thing. No, look, this is a grift. I'm enjoying more than anything. I'm enjoying the response from the members of the Democrat Party because it's exactly what you would expect. And I do think you're absolutely right. It's because she's beaten to the punch with another book. Mm-hmm. And the book comes out. I think the only people that are going to pick it up are the people inside the Beltway who are going to be going to the index to see whether they're included in it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the standard DC game. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank God. You know, Brianna, do you think we'll find anything new in this book? I mean, can we pretty much write it in our heads?
Look, if it's anything like Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper's book, even if there are some like bombshell allegations, it'll all be anonymous. They write a book called The Original Sin. The only sin there is that they granted anonymity to people that should be being held accountable. And we talk about right now all these people coming forward saying KJP was incompetent and stupid, whatever, everything we all saw with our own two eyes. Where were you for 2 years when that information would have been really useful to kick her out of office or to remove her from her podium?
Wouldn't it be hilarious if she was the source for the Jake Tapper book?
Oh, she was mentioned twice, so you never know.
Yeah, sometimes what they'll do in books is they will mention somebody in the index, and that's where you'll say, oh, that's where they're quoted. So you don't realize they're being quoted anonymously in other places. I did that when I interviewed Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
Weren't you the sign language interpreter at his funeral?
Yes, I was, Kennedy. So glad that you remember that, young woman. Do you think there'll be any revelations in this book? No?
No, I don't, because she has to examine her own life, and I think she's a pretty empty, vapid person, just based on her performance at the podium, which was completely underwhelming the entire time. So it's like people make a lot of money when they have compelling stories. Like, people wanted to read Hillary Clinton's first book when she came out of the White House because they wanted to know, you know, what was it like when your husband cheated on you with an intern? What was it like when you murder people and fake their suicide?
Yes.
You know, things like that. No one looks at Karine Jean-Pierre and goes, God, I wonder what her life is really like, because she just walked around like, hello, everyone, where's my binders? Yes, I already answered that question. The president already talked about that. He spoke to that, Peter Ducey. Don't ask me anything. I'm going to slam this binder and I'm going to leave. And you're going to be sad. And it's like, who's going to give her money for that?
Yeah.
You know, but you're absolutely right, because if she goes, oh my God, this was so awful, he was so incompetent, then she was a liar the entire time she was up there. And if she goes, he was seriously amazing and you guys are all awful people, then it's like, well, then you didn't see what was going on, and there's not going to be any sources because she is the only source, but it is an empty well.
This is amazing. You know, this is the key thing for this book. What is she going to say? Is she going to say he was totally effed up or not? Because she can't win either way.
But she has to get that book deal. She's got to say something. She's got to. That's how you get a deal. You have to put something on the table, say, this is what's going to sell this book.
Yeah.
Great. That's what I was about to say.
Well, talk about financial tips.
Oh, wait, because he looks like Charles Payne?
Yes.
Charles Payne, if they locked me in the basement for 6 years, my light and my melon is a little off. Give me an hour. What she says is irrelevant.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether she says Biden was what we already knew or she tried to defend him. She will be forever the face of why you don't hire DEI. And the reason for that is this.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. And here's why. If she had worked her ass off to get to that position, interviewed, strong, had a resume that showed that she has dominated and stuff, and when she got up there, and listen, everyone always wants to talk about being the first of everything, right? You're the first this, you're the first that. There is a responsibility with being the first of your people, which means you have to not just represent yourself, you have to represent the people you're claiming to be the first of, which means your integrity, your resolve needs to reflect everyone. So you could have been, this book could have been a lot different had she been the first lesbian black woman to come out and say, I can no longer do this job because he's unfit to serve. He can't complete a sentence. I can't see him. I can't answer any questions because he's unavailable to me. Right. She would be an American hero. There would be a statue of her somewhere one day. But because she's a DEI, never worked for nothing in her to get to where she's at, she'll just go along and, you know, whatever the gravy train is, I get to be on TV, I get paid. And then they cut it off because she couldn't get a job. She's the one person who couldn't get a job at MSNBC over there.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
That bar is pretty high.
ABC, all those things. No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing for her there. So what does she do? I'm leaving the party, and I'm going to write this book. If you had integrity, you would be a hero. You're just an afterthought. Whatever she said, who gives a damn about what she said in her book?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.